When it was the third night, and the king had had his will of the wazir's daughter, Dunyazad, her sister, said to her, "Finish for us that tale of thine." And she replied, "With joy and goodly gree, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the third old man told a tale to the genie more wondrous than the two preceding, the genie marvelled with exceeding marvel, and shaking with delight, cried, "Lo! I have given thee the remainder of the merchant's punishment, and for thy sake have I released him." Thereupon the merchant embraced the old men and thanked them, and these sheikhs wished him joy on being saved, and fared forth each one for his own city. "Yet this tale is not more wondrous than the fisherman's story," asked the king. "What is the fisherman's story?" And she answered by relating the tale of the fisherman and the genie. "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that there was a fisherman well stricken in years, who had a wife and 3 children, and withal was of poor condition. Now it was his custom to cast his net every day 4 times, and no more. On a day he went forth about noontide to the seashore, where he laid down his basket, and, tucking up his shirt and plunging into the water, made a cast with his net, and waited till it settled to the bottom. Then he gathered the cords together and haled away at it, but found it weighty, and however much he drew it landwards, he could not pull it up, so he carried the ends ashore and drove a stake into the ground and made the net fast to it. Then he stripped and dived into the water all about the net, and left not off working hard until he had brought it up. He rejoiced thereat, and donning his clothes went to the net, when he found in it a dead jackass which had torn the meshes. Now when he saw it, he exclaimed in his grief, "There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah the Glorious, the Great." Then quoth he, "This is a strange manner of daily bread," and he began reciting in extempore verse, "O toiler through the glooms of night, in peril and in pain, thy toiling stint for daily bread comes not by might and main. Seest thou not the fisher seek afloat upon the sea his bread, while glimmer stars of night as set in tangled skein? E'en on he plungeth in despite the buffet of the waves, the while to sight the bellying net his eager glances strain, till joying at the night's success, a fish he bringeth home, whose gullet by the hook of fate was caught and cut in twain. When buys that fish of him a man who spent the hours of night, reckless of cold and wet, and gloom and ease and comfort fain, laud to the Lord, who gives to this to that, denies his wishes, and dooms one toil and catch the prey, and other eat the fishes." Then quoth he, "Up into it, I am sure of his beneficence, inshallah." So he continued, "When thou art seized of evil fate, assume the noble soul's long-suffering, 'tis thy best, complain not to the creature, this be plaint, from one most ruthful to the ruthlessest." The fisherman, when he had looked at the dead ass, got it free of the toils, and wrung out and spread his net. Then he plunged into the sea, saying, "In Allah's name," and made a cast, and pulled at it, but it grew heavy, and settled down more firmly than the first time. Now he thought that there were fish in it, and he made it fast, and doffing his clothes went into the water, and dived and haled until he drew it up upon dry land. Then found he in it a large earthen pitcher, which was full of sand and mud. And seeing this, he was greatly troubled, and began repeating these verses, "Forbear, O troubles of the world, and pardon an ye no forbear. I went to seek my daily bread. I find that breadless I must fare, for neither handcraft brings me aught, nor fate allots to me a share. How many fools the Pleiads reach, while darkness whelms the wise, and where?" So he prayed pardon of Allah, and, throwing away the jar, wrung his net, and cleansed it, and returned to the sea the 3rd time to cast his net, and waited till it had sunk. Then he pulled at it, and found therein potsherds and broken glass, whereupon he began to speak these verses. "He is to thee that daily bread thou canst nor loose nor bind, nor pen nor writ avail thee aught thy daily bread to find, for joy and daily bread are what fate deigneth to allow. This soil is sad and sterile ground, while that makes glad the hind. The shafts of time and life bear down full many a man of worth, while bearing up to high degree wights of ignoble mind. So come thou death, for verily life is not worth a straw. When lo the falcon falls with ill, the mallard wings the wind. No wonder 'tis thou seest how the great of soul and mind are poor, and many a little carle to height of luck designed. This bird shall overfly the world from east to furthest west, and that shall win her every wish, though ne'er she leave the nest. Then raising his eyes heavenwards, he said, O my God, verily thou wottest that I cast not my net each day, save 4 times. The 3rd is done, and as yet thou hast vouchsafed me nothing. So this time, O my God, deign give me my daily bread. Then, having called on Allah's name, he again threw his net and waited its sinking and settling, whereupon he hailed at it, but could not draw it in, for that it was entangled at the bottom. He cried out in his vexation, There is no majesty, and there is no might save in Allah. And he began reciting, Fear in this wretched world, and so be I must be whelmed by grief and misery. Though gladsome be man's lot when dawns the morn, he drains the cup of woe ere eve he see, more pines when dawns the morn. He drains the cup of woe ere eve he see. Yet was I one of whom the world when asked, whose lot is happiest, oft would say, 'Tis he. Thereupon he stripped, and diving down to the net, busied himself with it till it came to land. Then he opened the meshes, and found therein a cucumber-shaped jar of yellow copper, evidently full of something, whose mouth was made fast with a leaden cap, stamped with the seal ring of our Lord Suleiman, son of David, Allah accept the twain. Seeing this, the fisherman rejoiced, and said, If I sell it in the brass bazaar, it is worth 10 golden dinars. He shook it, and finding it heavy, continued, Would to heaven I knew what is herein! But I must and will open it, and look to its contents, and store it in my bag, and sell it in the brass market. And taking out a knife, he worked at the lead till he had loosened it from the jar. Then he laid the cup on the ground, and shook the vase to pour out whatever might be inside. He found nothing in it, whereat he marvelled with an exceeding marvel. But presently there came forth from the jar a smoke which spired heavenwards into aether, whereat he again marvelled with mighty marvel, and which trailed along earth's surface, till presently, having reached its full height, the thick vapour condensed and became an ifrit, huge of bulk, whose crest touched the clouds while his feet were on the ground. His head was as a dome, his hands like pitchforks, his legs long as masts, and his mouth big as a cave. His teeth were like large stones, his nostrils ewers, his eyes 2 lamps, and his look was fierce and lowering. Now when the fisherman saw the ifrit, his side muscles quivered, his teeth chattered, his spittle dried up, and he became blind and beheld what to do. Upon this the ifrit looked at him and cried, There is no God but the God, and Suleiman is the prophet of God. Presently adding, O apostle of Allah, slay me not, never again will I gainsay thee in word nor sin against thee in deed. Quoth the fisherman, O Mahdi, didst thou say Suleiman the apostle of Allah? And Suleiman is dead some 1,800 years ago, and we are now in the last days of the world. What is thy story, and what is thy account of thyself, and what is the cause of thy entering into this cucurbit? Now when the evil spirit heard the words of the fisherman, quoth he, There is no God but the God. Be of good cheer, O fisherman. Quoth the fisherman, Why biddest thou me to be of good cheer? And he replied, Because of thy having to die an ill death in this very hour. Said the fisherman, Thou deservest for thy good tidings the withdrawal of heaven's protection. O thou distant one, wherefore shouldest thou kill me, and what thing have I done to deserve death? I who freed thee from the jar, and saved thee from the depths of the sea, and brought thee up on a dry land. Replied the Ifrit, Ask of me only what mode of death thou wilt die, and by what manner of slaughter shall I slay thee? Rejoined the fisherman, What is my crime, and wherefore such retribution? Quoth the Ifrit, Hear my story, O fisherman. And he answered, Say on, and be brief in thy saying, for of very sooth my life breath is in my nostrils. Thereupon quoth the Jinni, Know that I am one among the heretical Jann, and I sinned against Suleiman, David's son. I together with the famous Sakhar al-Jinni, whereupon the Prophet sent his minister, Asaf, son of Bahia, to seize me, and this wazir brought me against my will, and led me in bonds to him, I being downcast despite my nose, and he placed me standing before him like a suppliant. When Suleiman saw me, he took refuge with Allah, and bade me embrace the true faith, and obey his behests, but I refused. So sending for this cucurbit, he shut me up therein, and stopped it over with lead, whereon he impressed the Most High name, and gave his orders to the Jann who carried me off, and cast me into the midmost of the ocean. There I abode 100 years, during which I said in my heart, Whoso shall release me, him will I enrich for ever and ever. But the full century went by, and, when no one set me free, I entered upon the second 50, saying, Whoso shall release me, for him I will open the hordes of the earth. Still no one set me free, and thus 400 years passed away. Then quoth I, Whoso shall release me, for him will I fulfill 3 wishes. Yet no one set me free. Thereupon I waxed wroth with exceeding wrath, and said to myself, Whoso shall release me from this time forth, him will I slay, and I will give him choice of what death he will die. And now, as thou hast released me, I give thee full choice of deaths. The fisherman, hearing the words of the Ifrit, said, O Allah, the wonder of it that I have not come to free thee save in these days, adding, Spare my life, so Allah spare thine, and slay me not, lest Allah set one to slay thee. Replied the contumacious one, There is no help for it, die thou must, so ask me by way of boon what manner of death thou wilt die. Albeit thus certified, the fisherman again addressed the Ifrit, saying, Forgive me this my death, as a generous reward for having freed thee, and the Ifrit, surely I would not slay thee save on account of that same release. O chief of the Ifrits, said the fisherman, I do thee good, and thou requitest me with evil. In very sooth the old saw lieth not when it saith, We wrought them weal, they met our weal with ill. Such, by my life, is every bad man's labour. To him who benefits unworthy wights, shall hap what un inapt to Omiamir's neighbour. Now when the Ifrit heard these words, he answered, No more of this talk, needs must I kill thee. Upon this the fisherman said to himself, This is a Jinni, and I am a man to whom Allah hath given a passably cunning wit. So I will now cast about to compass his destruction by my contrivance and by mine intelligence, even as he took counsel only of his malice and his frowardness. He began by asking the Ifrit, Hast thou indeed resolved to kill me? And receiving for all answer, Even so, he cried, Now in the most great name, graven on the seal ring of Suleiman, the son of David, peace be with the holy twain, and I question thee on a certain matter, wilt thou give me a true answer? The Ifrit replied, Yea. But hearing mention of the most great name, his wits were troubled, and he said with trembling, Ask him be brief. Quoth the fisherman, How didst thou fit into this bottle, which would not hold thy hand? No, nor even thy foot, and how came it to be large enough to contain the whole of thee? Replied the Ifrit, What, dost not believe that I was all there? And the fisherman rejoined, Nay, I will never believe it until I see thee inside with my own eyes. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say.